All right. Good morning, everyone. I do that every single week. I say good morning. And now that this is a robust podcast, people are probably listening to it at, 11 at night, and I never take that into consideration. So, for those of you that are in our live viewing, listening audience, good morning. For the rest of you catching this in syndication, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever the hell it happens to be. But welcome to another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. As always, I'm your host, Adam Smith, with Just the Tips Coaching. And an anomaly for all of you today, our marketing director, who is usually on board for these podcasts with us, Jen Waybauer, is absent. She is in absentia in Maine, which is where she's actually from. She's on vacation visiting her family. So I'm kind of on my own here. Not sure exactly what to do, but we'll muddle through it, I'm sure. And for those of you listening, we have a very special guest, a repeat guest, a close friend and colleague, Robert Tait. Good morning, Rob.
Good morning, Adam. Jen, if this podcast sucks, it's because you're not here, not because of me.
I would say that that's absolutely true. No matter what happens on the show today, we are going to blame Jen because just like in real estate and mortgage transactions, if you're not there, you're the one who gets blamed.
That's right. That's how it works. Who's not in the room? Oh, it's that guy. It's Perfect. Definitely that guy.
All right. So, Rob, for our audience's sake, I want to bring, and yes, you've been on the show before, and yes, we've spent a lot of time together. We've done a ton of social media work together, etc. But I want to bring people up to speed on how this all began. And for those of you that follow the content of Just the Tips, we've got a lot of systems in place, a lot of campaigns in place, including one that allows loan originators to connect better with real estate agents. And Rob fell into that trap with me. And it's real simple stuff. It's a Facebook Messenger campaign, and then it allows for you to set a meeting. And Rob and I met. And here I am thinking I'm going to, just sit and listen to this real estate agent talk about himself for a half hour, an hour, whatever is typical for that type of coffee appointment, quote unquote, as the industries refer to it as. And Rob really threw me for a loop. Instead, he knew exactly what to do to ask the proper leading questions, to really get to know me, to solicit answers that he wanted to get to further that conversation. And part of that was him listening to me describe both my mortgage and coaching businesses. And at the end of him listening to me rant and ramble about those, he said to me, well, you don't have a business or businesses, you have a job. And I was very confused by that statement and asked him to elaborate. And he said, well, what happens if you don't get up every day and do your lead generation work? Find buyers, find borrowers, find referral partners, find coaching clients, so on and so forth. I said, well, yeah, eventually it all goes away if I don't do that work. And he said, right, you don't have a business, you have a job. You got to get up every morning and go do your job. And I was offended by this, so we were immediate friends. We've been working together very closely ever since. And the worst part of all that is that he was damn right. There is no question. And this plagues 99% of the real estate agents and the mortgage originators. You guys know that this is true for all of you listening. You don't have a business, you have a job. So that was really the catalyst, and Rob and I have done a lot of work ever since then through both my mortgage company, through the coaching company. So Rob's kind of here on a where are they now sort of interview, and we really want to see what's changed for Rob in the 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 months since we had him on the show last. And of course, I talk to Rob almost daily, so I get a real taste of this, and Jen does too, even though she's not here with us today. But for our audience, Rob, tell us about some of the big, and I know what they are, and some of the small developments that you've had this year.
This year's been really great for Downey Street Group and for us, and I almost feel guilty saying that in the time of Corona. But we've really worked hard the entire year, and our fruits of our labors are paying off. We've recently switched over brokerages. So we were housed with Keller Williams, and we hosted Downing Street Group under them. And then we got invited to join Engel and Volkers. And in fact, I'm being inducted into their private office group at the end of this week, which is their illustrious 1% group. So really, really super excited about that.
Well,
and we're also opening.
Slow down there, because I want to emphasize the fact that this is really a big deal. Agents and brokers and even teams, they shop around companies. They move around companies. But it's not all that often that there's an invitation. Hey, we really want you to come interview us. Come take a look at us. I think that speaks volumes about Rob and how Downing Street Group do business. So I want to emphasize that the way you guys work, the way you put yourselves out there, the work product that you have, the way you participate in the community actually draws invitations for you to come to other companies, not you looking the other way around. All right.
Yeah, if you're not getting calls from firms that you respect to be recruited, you're not making yourself known in a big enough business. Like, so I think anyway. So we invited invited into their private network called Private Office. That's a huge feather in our cap and a big honor, and we're really excited. And then we're also opening up an office in my home area or home neighborhood, Wash Park. So come mid-December, we will have our location right there on Gaylord Street in Wash Park, a couple blocks from my house, and couldn't be happier.
It's really cool. So that's probably the biggest work-related change this year.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, huge. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So give us some of the finer points. What do you think transpired even prior to you and I meeting that kind of led to this transition, this wooing, this invitation, and to the success that you've had with this change?
I think the big thing is I've always been a businessman that happens to be in the business of real estate. And I've taken the career and the business extremely seriously. And it's never been something for me where like, I'll do here and there, or even if I do a bunch of transactions, like the point of Downing Street Group or the point of any business is to service its clients, right? To create an underserved niche or a niche that you can serve better than your competitors and lean into that to such a degree that you're respected enough to have the honor of earning their business. And so that's how we kind of approach Downing Street Group. How can we level up service? And I think, through that now almost 2-year process of really digging in and saying, how do we do this bigger, better, stronger, faster, and really earn our commissions and really earn the respect and referrals and everything else of our clients? I think that's the culmination of all that work. When I started this, I looked at Zillow and now their brokerage is open here where it wasn't when I was thinking about all this. And I said, you know what? If you can just go online and you can find the value of a house and all that other, you can do all the research online, and all a realtor really does is happens to negotiate a bit of the deal, we're probably worth no money, right? We're probably worth the 1% or whatever that Zillow's going to pay, because we're not providing any value. We're not providing any service. We're not providing any expertise. We're providing zero. So I said, the only way that I'm going to survive and our industry is going to survive is if we really stake a flag in service that demonstrates our worthiness. Otherwise, man, just pull up the Zillow app, go look at the homes yourself, select the one you want, and then find somebody halfway decent to negotiate it.
Yeah, and I would say that you guys have certainly well exceeded halfway decent.
Yes, yeah, and we're still, I'd say we're 80% there, but as you know, Adam, I'm kind of this freak and that you can always grow and get better. I'm more looking to what can I do better next than I am ever looking currently. And so, as we're growing and expanding, we're just adding more and more things that we're doing for our clients and our database. We really view that our job is to service the lives of our database, before, during, and after a transaction. And if we do that and inside the community and be really, really community focused, we know that our community will take care of our lives by honoring us with their business.
Okay. I would say that there's definitely some truth to that. And I know that A lot of it is that, and I think your description of you being a businessman who happens to be in the real estate business is accurate that way, because you keep a good number of irons in the fire. It's
Hmm.
not just your real estate practice. We know that there's an insurance business behind the scenes. We know that there's some nonprofit work, some philanthropic work in
Hmm.
your activities. Hunger Free 303, for those of you that are curious about that, but a significant movement that Rob heads up to try and make sure that kids in Colorado do not go hungry. It's a very big deal. And I think because of it, and I actually had this conversation last month at the mastermind event right after you spoke to our big audience with Allison, who I see sitting behind you, so it's kind of appropriate, but she knows full well, and she had described it to us in another manner that helped clarify things, that most of us are trying to come full circle. And I'm not crazy about that terminology, but it's true. We're all trying to find our starting point, build up a head of steam, build something significant, something robust, and come back full circle to where we can complete that. Whatever that circle happens to be, that we can complete that. Bask in the glory of it being done, and then maybe move on to a new circle. And I think one of the big differences between what goes on in a lot of real estate production, a lot of real estate agents, a lot of mortgage originators, a lot of broker owners, on, is that their circle, that circle that they want to complete, is a little smaller than yours. I think mine is. I think it's just a matter that your circle is bigger than most, and you know full well it's not by any means of detriment to you or to anybody else that wants to take on a bigger circle. I just think you know that your path to completing it is going to be bigger. It's going to be longer. It's going to take more effort. It's going to eventually, because of that, be more fruitful. But I
Hmm.
think that the way that Allison had described it to both Jen and I, one of those nights during the mastermind event, really drove it home for me. The full circle that you want to complete, that Rob wants to complete, is just bigger than most circles.
I think so. I mean, I think it came from one of the execs at KW, and he was describing the dash, right? He's like, on your tombstone, you're going to have the year born and the year you die, and you have this dash, right? And that dash is extremely unrepresentative of your life. How can you make your dash something so impactful that it serves on, right? And then I sadly attended a funeral of a good friend, Dan Feed, this weekend, and he wrote this poem to this other realtor, and he kind of ended it with, you die twice, right? You die the first time that you pass away, and then the second time when the last person said your name. And I think that's like a Wallace Emerson quote or something like that. And I really want that my name and Downing Street Group's name carries on as somebody who really benefited the community, well past my life. And that's a fire I just have. That's the impact I want to have on this world.
The dash. What kind
Yeah.
of impact is your dash? That's huge. Jen, I hope you're still watching, listening. I see that both Jen and Erica were watching earlier. So, yeah, hopefully Jen will put that into good use. That's probably one of the better quotes we've had on three seasons of How I Met Your Mortgage is, what are you going to make with your dash? That's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. All right, so in the interest of what our audience is really looking for, and I get it, I certainly don't want to be selfish about this, and you and I get all kinds of time together, so I'm not going to detract from our audience. What are the kinds of things that are going on from a tactical standpoint that you guys are doing, DSG as a whole, Downing Street Group as a whole, that are making this difference between where you guys were a year ago and where you're at now?
Um, so I think one of the huge tactical differences is we've gotten even more vigilant about our systems. We're crazy about them now. Like anytime something happens, we're like, okay, what do we need to do such that this doesn't ever occur again? Whether it's a problem or a communication or something like that. How can we systematize this such that we never run into this issue, right? And I always think back on the Ritz-Carlton and my first experience with it. I walked into the bar and it was late at night because I just got in for my flight, and they had little crackers or whatever, the little bar things that you eat, and they're like, "Oh, are you hungry? Our kitchen just closed. We're terribly sorry, but here's this bowl." And I said, "Oh man, I can't eat that because I'm gluten intolerant, and that has all these gluten things in it." And they're like, "Oh, we're terribly sorry, sir." So I had one drink, went up to bed. Next night, I came back down, and they brought to me a special, little bar nut thing, and they physically pulled out all the gluten. Like they just pulled it out, and they go, "Here's a gluten-free one for you."
Wow.
And that always stuck with me as provide to people something they want that they're not even asking for, and you will earn a space in their mind as somebody that not only cares but gives. And so, systems have been huge for us. Two, we've gotten really, really serious about negotiations. We've studied a lot more in negotiations, been in a lot more classes, run scenarios within the firm. In this fast-pacing market of multiple offers and weird shenanigans going on and people doing odd things, I'm earning all my money in negotiations, from our sellers. I'm so proud of Prosper, and I'll just give a huge shout out to him. And hopefully this podcast plays a little bit after the transaction, because I don't want the other realtor to hear. But he countered the highest offer $10,000 up, and he got the highest offer for his listing $10,000 up. And would you just, if you know how to win at this game, we're getting clients under contract better than most. We're getting sellers more money than even the highest offer. And it's all in this fast-paced negotiation game. It's being on top of it, understanding the contract, understanding the maneuvering around it, and really understanding that negotiations funneled by or backed by some good marketing, that's how you're winning today. That's this market.
Okay. And I don't think it's unique to our market. And for those of you listening, Rob and I are both in Denver, Colorado. But I think while Denver's a bit of an anomaly, I think this is going on in every major metropolitan area in the country. We're just having a housing shortage. We just don't have enough housing for the population. Rural parts had been moving into urban areas for years and years and years. I'm not sure that the pandemic won't slow or change that, although it doesn't seem to be yet. But as we really get a handle on remote working and so on and so forth, do we get a little bit of relief? Maybe. But yeah, I think that this is a big piece of the puzzle for everybody in every city.
Well, and Adam, I don't think we're going to get relief. And here's why. Just look at basic supply and demand, right? In 2008, 2009, 2010, our economy is putting on 1 million houses every single year, building them, right? And then we went down to about a 500,000, just a little bit more of houses. Well, we didn't stop having babies. So that created this housing deficit for like 6 years, to where we would have had to build like 1.5 million houses, right? 50% more than we were building pre-recession to make up our just inventory gap, right? It was starting to get close to that level, but we were still in a small inventory gap entering into the coronavirus. Corona has caused a bunch of our products that we purchase, wood, lumber, et cetera, to drastically increase costs. Lumber's up 3 times, right? All construction costs are highly up. Well, builders are building less. We're creating another inventory shortage by not building homes at the rate we need to. We were already in a slight inventory shortage coming into this. We are going to be in an inventory shortage market for a while.
Yeah, I think
that's economics.
There's no question. The supply and demand issue could drag this out another decade, maybe longer. While before we see a balanced market, a 6-month inventory in all these major urban areas, it could be a very long time. Now, that's good for people who own real estate, people that want to buy real estate today, those kinds of things, knowing that the supply and demand issue is going to continue to drive values up for another decade, or the way it has for the past decade. But I think that while, I don't know, maybe there's a supply and demand issue in the Denver metro area right now where we need 30,000 properties to have a 6-month inventory, and we've got 8,000. Maybe people learning that they can work remotely, that we don't have to worry about commuting, that we don't need to live in the city limits, these kinds of things. I don't know, maybe we start seeing numbers where we have 10, 12,000 in inventory. While we still need 30, don't get me wrong, we're not solving the problem here. I do like the idea of some issues being resolved by what's going on in the world right now, but yeah, we certainly aren't going to get a solution out of it. I just think we get a little reprieve out of it.
Possibly. And we are seeing, as you said, the tier one markets, every market's kind of moving a little bit, right? So here in Denver, if you're a millennial and you just had a baby and you live kind of minimalist, 1,000 square feet, really cool hip place. Now that you're working from home and possibly your spouse is working from home and you got this kid that's making noise, you're like, man, I never thought I'd go consider the burbs, but it looks like a good option right now. So, the effects of the pandemic, I think we're going to feel for quite a while in terms of human behavior, the needs of real estate, how people utilize their real estate is going to change. They were locked in their homes for a really long time. And if a second wave comes, it'll be the same thing again. How are they going to react to that? So we don't only have economic factors that we've never seen before. We also have behavioral factors that I don't think we've seen something that I think will affect the behavior of a generation this much since the Great Depression.
Oh, that's a big statement. That's a bold statement. I'm trying to think of any reason why I could possibly discredit that, and I can't. I think you're right.
This is what I do. I geek out on this stuff. Yeah.
Wow! Holy cow! Okay, that's really profound stuff. I really hope our audience picks up on that. That since the Great Depression, this will be one of the most monumental socioeconomic, cultural shifts. Excuse me, that we've had in the world since the Great Depression. That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, look, it's affected us. It's affected us emotionally more than I think any other recession. Right? It's not just a recession. It's not when's the last time your life was threatened and your business and your parents and you didn't know when we'd get out of it?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. No question, is the unknown.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very, very true. I'm sure that does rival the Great Depression, and there was no health pandemic associated with it. It's kind of a twofold issue that way. It's probably the biggest impact in, I don't know how long, a long, long time, but yeah, that's really profound stuff. Ooh, a little frightening, to be honest. We'll see what those shifts look like. Again, the future's a tad uncertain today, but yeah, that's really big stuff. Thanks for that insight, Rob. Jeez.
Well, with every future is opportunity, right? I'm just saying the behavior is going to be impacted from what we would have called norm then. We might see some of these small towns that never really had a population base get an influx of cool, popular, not cool, popular people, but, younger people, younger generations that, come into these small towns and reinvigorate them and give them life. Like, there's going to be some cool after effects as well as just weird ones. I don't think it's negative. I just see that, this could be a change point right here.
Well, and change is hard. Most of us are pretty reluctant to adopt it. That's just human nature.
Fair.
And yeah, I do think that that's true. And we've obviously experienced a lot of that in a short time, which is probably part of the reason that the global population is difficult, struggling, challenging, divided right now, is because we don't like change and we're dealing with an awful lot of it in a short time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, we are human beings. The only thing constant that we have is that we all hate change.
Yeah, even when it's positive.
Yeah.
And some of it has been. I remember early on back in March, we were getting reports of, air pollution around the globe has basically disappeared. That, dolphins were swimming in the Venetian canals again. These kinds of things because we were, not polluting, at least not outside of our own homes. Everybody was, stuck at home, sheltered at home. So, yeah, it's not all negative by any means. For those of you listening, I don't want this to sound like Rob and I are, doomsdaying this scenario, because we're not. We think that there's a lot of positive change that's going to come. But, keep in the back of your mind that, yeah, it's change, and change is hard.
Yeah. And I always think that there's people that need to lead the change, right? Like you can either let change happen in a weird way, however it develops, or you can step up and decide how you want to lead the change. And, the only thing about change is that something happened and therefore there's going to be some effect, right? That effect is not necessary. We need community leaders in every industry, including real estate, to step up and say, here's what we're going to have the change be. We're going to make the world better because of this catalyst. I mean, I guess that's why I'm always excited, is because I try to be a leader in change to make things better. And it kind of excites me.
It does for us too. We wouldn't spend as much time with you as we do if we didn't think that your reaction to it and you being excited about change and your motivation to propel everything and everybody you come across forward, it's a magnetic quality, no question.
Well, thanks, sir.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Right, so, and then I think the last thing we really do that I just love the listeners to hear is we really focused everything in our business around relationships. Like, it is finding people and getting to know them and caring about them is our entire business model, right? We don't buy Zillow leads. And we do a decent bit of business. We don't, pay for all these other advertising vectors, when they're like, we'll get you on first page of Google, or, I'll do cold calling and FSBO's expired for you, et cetera. Prosper does a little bit, not a lot. Like, our world is based on how do we get into your world and care about you enough where you're happy to refer us.
That's a big deal. And yeah, it should go without saying, and I don't know that I could emphasize enough how important it is for everybody in sales, in mortgages, in real estate, anybody who's got that direct-to-consumer gig, how important that relationship piece of it is, how important it is to be embedded in people's lives, to be concerned about people's well-being, about their success, so on and so forth, in order to build up the eventual business and not just have a job. That's a huge, huge piece of the puzzle. All right, so we've got a few minutes left, and in a very, very, very self-serving manner, have you and your team learned anything from just the tips? Has Jen been a benefit to you at all?
Oh my God! So first and foremost, hire Adam. I hated social media before this, and I still don't know what my personal opinion of is it good for the world or not, but it's needed, right? And it exists. I didn't understand Facebook at all. I had friends, but I never posted on it. I didn't understand Instagram. I didn't understand any of it. And Adam not only helped me understand it, but most importantly, Adam helped me develop a system to which I can run and have my team run that gets business. And really, the system gets business because I get the relationships. I put them into the system that Adam taught me, and then that pumps out business. That's the point of it.
High praise. I'm gonna credit where credit's due. I'm gonna say Jen's the big part of that, and Jen does obviously coach on a lot of our social media modules because she's in tune with it. It's what she does and where she spends her time, and studying, Facebook algorithms and Instagram business practices and so on and so forth. So, yeah,
she does it, so we don't have to. It's great,
right? And here we've gone 30 minutes, and we still haven't found anything to blame Jen for.
How about we blame Jen? There's no heat right now in the office. Right. There's no heat in the building. I'm cold. If I seem a little shaky, it's because I don't know. It's probably 60 degrees in here. That's why Allison had like 2 jackets on
and left. She went to go build a fire out of some spare furniture. And actually, it's funny because we were in the mountains over the weekend, and absolutely beautiful, 60s, 70 degrees, late Indian summer. And when I came back down, I actually drove past Jen's neighborhood on my way home, and it dropped to 30 degrees by her house. So she may very well be the problem.
It's actually, Jen, I'm blaming you for the fires and the weather.
Wow. Yeah. That's a lot of responsibility. Bring some water back from Maine, apparently, Jen, because Maine, Jen, fire. We need the water. Yes. Well, Rob, thank you. Always great having you on the show, and I know that it's probably been a matter of 72 hours since we last spoke, so it's not unique for me to get some really cool feedback and insight and ideas from you, but for our audience, it makes a world of difference, I assure you, and we'll do it again.
Well, and same here. And I'm just going to give one final plug. If you go buy leads or do any of this stuff without a system, or that isn't yours, one day you'll be cut out of it, right? What Adam's given my team is the ability to create a system that even if Facebook went down, we'll just plug in the next whatever, right? We have this marketing system with and through social media that Adam's helped us develop. That's mine. Guys, I own it, right? Adam doesn't own it. I own it. So I am not dependent on anyone. And that's really, really important, especially as technology grows.
Well, that's certainly a big piece of the puzzle. And obviously we know a lot of people are dependent, as you put it, on Zillow, on Realtor.com, whatever the case may be. And even more importantly, I think that is a big piece of this is that a lot of agents out there are dependent upon the referral sources, loan originators, insurance agents, whatever the case may be. Mortgage originators, I know so many that are so dependent upon the real estate agent referrals that their business is driven by whether or not the real estate agent is doing their job when it comes to the lead gen work. That's insane to me. For each individual person, every agent, every loan originator, every salesperson to be able to source and systemize their own lead gen activities, their own book of business, their own influx of activity is the name of the game. I mean, this is where you guys have got to get. If you are dependent upon an outside source like a Zillow that could disappear at the drop of a hat, or a referral partner who could decide to take a 6-month sabbatical, whatever the case may be, if you are in that position, please, I beg you, take account of where your business is coming from today and figure out how to make sure that it's literally coming from you. At least the majority of it, because otherwise, just putting all those eggs in someone else's basket scares me for the people that are involved.
Well, and for those of you who are motivated also by positivity rather than negativity, and somebody pulling the rug out could very well happen, and it will. Like Zillow opened a brokerage in Denver, guys, it's happening. But more importantly, imagine the life that you've created a system in a business that drills off business without you. And you're not the guy that answers the phone and services the lead and gets it to closing. That's happened without you. And the client's happy because you have this operational team that makes them happy. Imagine your life when that happens.
Happy. Very cool stuff. All right. Yes, I can tell we're getting a ping here that we've run over. Thank you for that insight. Jen, I'm glad that Facebook Messenger works all the way from Maine.
Well, it's her fault that we went over because she's not here.
She's not babysitting us. And
that's right.
If we were actually left to our own devices, you people would be listening to us for the next 6 hours, talk about all kinds of things.
Because we do this.
We do this. And it'll take us 12 episodes to get Rob on the air for 6 hours of this, but we're going to get there. All right. So, Rob, again, thank you so much. The amount of insight that you've given me and my teams over the years, the insight that we've been able to pass on to other clients. Multiple years we've had you speak at the Mastermind event and educate all of our clients, helping coach them through team structure and building a business. I can't say enough positive. In fact, to the point where I want you to plug you. How do our real estate buyers and sellers, our potential DSG team members all find you? What's the best way? Phone, social media, hit us.
Yeah, hit me up on Facebook, Robert Tait. Follow the hashtag Rob is in the house. You can call me 303-888-0194, and you know I'm a native when it's 888 number. But just hit me up on social media or give me a ring.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you for doing this again. And for those of you listening, either live or in syndication, thank you for joining us. And if you want more information about Just the Tips, if you want to see more of these episodes, if you want to catch our weekly Little Tip video blog, just a few minutes each week on something you can be doing to generate more leads. If you want a copy of my book, Just the Tips, if you want to be a guest on the show, whatever it is, use that text code TEXTTIPS to 63566, and it'll ping you back all the information on those different things. So, Rob, thanks again. I'm going to run our extra, and we will see or talk to all of you guys next week.